The president has his love-hate situationships with our European allies on full display today at the NATO meetings. Watching some of these press conferences is full of cringeworthy moments. Lots of shade being thrown, like being at a dinner party with couples who are trying to be nice, but clearly not feeling each other right now. Back at home, House Intelligence Committee Democrats are releasing their impeachment report today. The Republicans released their pre-rebuttal last night. So much happening, but we've got some other news you might have missed. There's a Senate seat about to get filled in Georgia, and President Trump ain't happy. Trade wars are breaking out all over the place, and YouTube is taking on Team Trump's ads. I'm Jamal Simmons, and here's why you should care. The fear of God is one thing, but it appears Stacey Abrams put the fear of women into the heart of Georgia's Republican governor, Brian Kemp. When Kemp won his Georgia governor's race in 2018 against Abrams, the first African-American woman to head a major party ticket, it was by 55,000 votes out of nearly 4 million cast, about 1.6%. Only 15,000 votes kept the contest from going to a mandatory runoff. For a generation, moderately conservative suburban Atlanta women have been the difference maker in Georgia elections. According to CNN exit polls, Abrams increased the percentage of independent women and political moderates to vote for her over Hillary Clinton by 4 to 5 points. This is Georgia, people. In the shadow of that reckoning, Georgia's Republican governor has signaled he will appoint Kelly Loeffler to the state's open Senate seat. The businesswoman from the Atlanta suburbs is part owner of the Atlanta Dream, the WNBA team down there. And she's been derided by conservatives as being too centrist because she supported Mitt Romney for president. She's centrist because she supported the Republican nominee for president and sits on the board of an Atlanta public hospital where they perform abortions. So who do the conservatives want? They want the guy who President Trump wants, and that's Georgia Congressman Doug Collins. He'll be in the limelight this week as the top Republican on the House Judiciary Committee during impeachment hearings. Reports are that President Trump wants a surefire vote against his impeachment in the Senate, and he trusts Collins to toe the line, while Loeffler might be a waffler. The Senate appointment is not Kemp's only effort to tack back to the center, away from the far right, politics that almost saw him lose. According to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, the governor has appointed a surprising number of women, African Americans, and even LGBTQ people to state boards and criminal justice posts. So why should you care about all this stuff happening in Georgia? More than just the Georgia politics, this could be a signal that some Republican politicians are questioning the base turnout strategy Trump has rested his entire political future on. Georgia could be the first crack in the Trump wall. President Trump announced a slew of plans and statements surrounding trade recently that has everyone going a little bit crazy. Here to help break it down is the Hill's breaking news reporter, Rachel Frazin. Rachel, let's start with China. So the president is over in London right now at a NATO meeting, but he's saying while he's on the ground there that he may not do a deal with China until after the election in 2020, which seems like a long time away.
Yes, it does. He had previously said in October, I believe, that they had reached a phase 1 deal, but now he's saying there is no deadline for a deal. There are also tariffs that are scheduled to go into effect this month on, I believe, billions in Chinese goods. And so people had, I think there had been some hopes that a deal would go on, and now he's saying there's no deadline, and it might even be better to do it after the election.
And isn't there some back and forth between the president and the Chinese? Like, he says something's happening, they're like, what are you talking about? Today he said they've called me twice already, we've got progress is happening. I don't know if the Chinese have announced that to anybody that the progress is happening. It seems like it's all back and forth.
It seems like there's a lot of disconnect, and sometimes people on one side say one thing, on the other side say another thing. It's unclear, if it's a miscommunication, if it's a strategy, so there can be a difference sometimes, but they've also had this trade war going on for months and months, and so there's been a lot of things said just over
Well, there's some
course.
evidence that it might actually be hurting the U.S. economy too. Manufacturing seems to be sliding into recession over the last quarter or two. Is this something that Americans should be worried about?
To be honest with you, it's not clear yet. I feel like I can't really predict the future. I don't have a crystal ball, so nobody really knows what's going to happen with this. But I think the manufacturing sector has not been pleased.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, also, he's over there meeting with our partners. France right now has a digital tax that's going on Google and Facebook. The president seems like he wants to retaliate against France by targeting cheese and champagne. I mean, he's going after French wine. What is the president doing going after wine? People love wine.
That is true. He is saying that this digital tax, and the U.S. Trade Representative's office is saying that this tax unfairly targets American companies. This 3% digital tax, it doesn't say in particular that it's going to target U.S., but there are like size restrictions, or like they're saying that it's going to target digital companies of a certain size. And a lot of U.S. digital firms are ones that fall into that category, whereas in other countries may not have firms that are as large. France is saying, you know, that they're just trying to get some money from the digital economy as things go more digitally. But the U.S., including these companies and including the Trump administration, are seeing this as a target on us.
No, I was listening to Ellie Beardsley this morning from NPR. She was talking about the change in Macron, that the French president has gone from trying to woo the president, our president, President Trump, to kind of trying to be a little bit of a tough guy with him, standing up to him a little bit. It seems like there's a little more of that happening at this meeting over there in Europe.
Yes, they've had sort of a very tense meeting this morning. I believe the President Trump said he might want to send some ISIS fighters to France, I believe, jokingly, but it seems like things are tense.
That seems tense. When the president's joking about sending terrorists to your border, that seems a little tense. The other thing that's happening, Brazil and Argentina, steel and aluminum tariffs are also on the table with Brazil and Argentina. What's happening with South American trade?
Sure thing. President Trump has said this week that he might reimpose these tariffs on Brazil and Argentina. They had previously been exempted from steel and tariffs. President Trump is saying that these countries are devaluing their currency, and so that's why. So he's responding to help farmers that are affected by that.
So this isn't really a trade thing, but we'll close out with this. The president also seems to be very focused on how much money people are paying toward their NATO dues. And this morning, he was holding French Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on account of how much money that the French are going to be paying toward NATO. But it just seems like the president's not really going to NATO to kind of be nice to people. He seems to be picking these little fights.
Well, he has lamented for a very long time that he doesn't believe other countries, are paying their fair share in a lot of aspects. So I feel like this is just part of his larger strategy of why is America paying so much? Why don't other countries pay their fair share? Which I think also goes into his whole America First thing that he's always talking about.
YouTube has blocked hundreds of President Donald Trump's campaign ads on its platform. That's according to a report CBS's 60 Minutes aired on Sunday. The network's investigation uncovered YouTube took down hundreds of ads this year, and its parent company, Google, has too. Google hasn't been upfront about why it scrapped certain ads, and also it doesn't specify the contents on an ad it takes down. Its transparency tool simply notifies the viewer that an ad violates company policies. This development isn't particularly surprising, considering Google and other social media giants announced last month that they will be tightening the grip on social and political ads. Per Google's rules, if a campaign ad zeroes in on a particular group of people based on ideological affiliation, guess what? It's going to be bye-bye. Ads for Twitter, politicians, and super PAC ads are banned. Facebook, well, they're still co-signing false and misleading ads, so why should you care? This has large implications for politicians and political organizations, which have long relied on trashing opponents, especially through dramatized and oftentimes false campaign ads. This open attitude on blasting political foes gave campaigns a leg up, while the viewer was left in the dark about the actual facts. How voters stay informed and not misled is hugely important, especially in this particular technological era. We're all groping our way through it. And for those of us making content, the last thing we want is to be hijacked by a foreign power looking to take advantage to hurt the U.S. political system. Thanks for watching Hill TV on YouTube. Be sure to click subscribe and hit the bell so you know when we post new videos. And head to thehill.com for all the latest political news.